Okay friends, it's time to get started on our job. One of the first things you want to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground and the suspension's hanging. After that, continue on by removing all 4 of your 19mm lug nut covers, then all of your lug nuts. Let's remove the wheel. Let's go ahead and take this lug nut. We're going to start it right on here and bottom it out up against the rotor. That's going to hold it in place so no rust falls in between. Now we can move down along to where the lower ball joint connects onto the knuckle. If you were to look at this, you're going to find that you have a pinch bolt. That pinch bolt comes through from the front of the vehicle towards the rear. Now to remove this pinch bolt, we're going to have to hold the bolt from the front, and we'll continue on by removing the nut along the back side. For the bolt in the front, I'll just use a 16mm wrench, hold on to that. And now on the back for the nut, I'll use a 15mm. Now I'm just going to go ahead and turn this bolt a little bit with some penetrant, and I'm going to try to free it up. Once it feels as though it's freed up, I'll just go ahead and drive it right out. If I can get this out of here. Now at this point, you want to thoroughly inspect your pinch bolt. This bolt needs to be in good condition. If it looks like it's rotted or damaged in any way, you need to go ahead and replace it. At this point, we're going to continue on with a pickle fork and a hammer to separate this joint. Now at this point, you can tell that the ball joint's starting to separate from the knuckle. Let's get our tool out of here. Now that we have the ball joint broken free from the knuckle, we're going to continue on to this area right here. Now what you're looking at is 3 rivets that hold the ball joint to the top of the control arm. All I want to do is go ahead and grind off the head of each of these right here. After that, we'll go ahead and separate the ball joint from the control arm, and we'll roll it right out of here. Now, once I've cut a whole bunch of slits in this, I'll continue on with an air chisel. Do the same to the rest. Once you have all those cut off of there, let's continue on with a punch. Sometimes you might have to heat this up a little bit. There it is, friends. Now it's time to install our lower ball joint. When you do this, you want to make sure you have the stud facing up. Facing down is not the correct way. Now it's time to talk about the ball joint nuts. When you look at these, you're going to notice one side is oblonged, almost egg-shaped. Now we'll turn it around and you'll notice the other side is circular. We're going to put the circular side towards the ball joint bolts. The reason why we want to have the egg shape down is because that's technically the locking mechanism for the nut. Now we can bottom each of these out and then we'll torque them to manufacturer specification. I'll use my 18mm on top and down bottom to tighten these. Once you have them all snugged, torque each of them to 50 foot-pounds. Now that we have these torqued, let's continue by putting the ball joint stud inside the knuckle. If you wanted to, you could use a little bit of copper never sees in this area. Now that we have the ball joint started into the knuckle, we're going to continue pressing it up. I'm just going to put a jack under this area, but I want to mention you do not want to put a jack underneath your ball joint. We're going to come right over to this area here and we'll gently lift it up. Now we can put in our brand new pinch bolts. For these, I always like to use some red thread locker. We'll slide it through from the front towards the rear. Once you have it in there, continue on with your mounting nut. Now we can bottom this out and then we'll torque it to 35 foot-pounds. To tighten this, we're going to use a 13mm wrench to hold the bolt side along the front, and we'll use a 15mm for the nut. We'll go ahead and remove this lug nut. With the wheel safely on the ground, let's go ahead and torque this to 100 foot-pounds. Torqued. If you have a hubcap, go ahead and put that on now. You're going to want to pay attention to the valve stem hole. That's the cutout right along here. Line it up with the valve stem. Everything else should line up perfectly along the way. After that, go ahead and take your 19mm socket and we'll just go ahead and bottom these out. You don't need to use an air gun for this. Okay friends, we got our ball joint installed. What's left to do now? Now of course you're going to want to get yourself safely down to your local alignment shop. Thanks for watching.